Honestly, it's been a whirlwind. I'm still on cloud nine. It's crazy to say, I'm an Olympic medalist, gold medalist now.
Was the time in Tokyo where I was put in a position that I was tested, and I succeeded that test. So
I think honestly it was just me overcoming everything that I've been through these past few years.
Jordan Chiles came to Bercy Arena at the Paris Olympics with an optimistic outlook and the will to change her story from Tokyo. She appeared ready to make up after weeks of training and a floor routine inspired by Beyoncé. The 2-per-country rule prevented her from competing in the all-around, so she and her fans are still perplexed as to how such a gifted gymnast could have missed the finals by a mere 0.067 points. Certain athletes stand head and shoulders above the rest. Respect is the only emotion I have toward her. She has been fantastic, as one of her admirers put it, and being friends with her is like having a big sister. Jordan Chiles intends to leave a lasting impression in Paris following the Tokyo Olympics. After failing to advance to the Tokyo individual finals due to uneven bar and balance beam performance, Chiles had to overcome her disappointment. She had a tough time making her way back up to the peak. She spent countless hours perfecting her form and mastering every exercise at the gym. Being mentally and physically tough like an athlete was her goal. On one hand, she seemed to be having a blast at the gym, honing her landings and expressions. Another obstacle Chiles had to overcome was the psychological damage she had suffered in her earlier Olympic campaigns. Mental fortitude is just as important as physical fitness for gymnastics. Chiles elevated her confidence and focus to the point where she could compete at the highest level by closely collaborating with her coaches and sports psychologists. It took more than learning new skills to embrace pressure and use it to propel performance. It required a shift in mindset. Jordan Chiles had big dreams when she got to Paris for the Olympics. She was just as great as the rest of the USA gymnastics team, which is widely considered to be the greatest in the world. Experts and fans alike were waiting impatiently for her comeback, and many were wondering if she could make amends. Everything was in place. Chiles had a chance to move past Tokyo and begin a fresh chapter in her Olympic journey. The speculation about her being the game's breakout star had many people waiting for her to return from injury. But in a sport where results are completely unpredictable, like gymnastics, the truth can be quite harsh. Chiles tried her hardest, but she ran into an unexpected problem. One big obstacle was the 2-per-country rule, which states that each country can only send 2 gymnasts to the finals. Even though she finished 4th in the all-around qualifying, she was nonetheless disqualified from competing in the finals owing to a rule. The other 3 competitors were Simone Biles, Sunisa Lee, and Brazilian Rebecca Andrade. It was difficult to swallow considering the amount of effort that had been put into preparation. Subdivision 2 qualifiers at the Bercy Arena were electrified by Jordan Chiles' performance. Now was her chance to shine. She could finally forget about her troubles in Tokyo and prove to everyone how capable she was. It is well known that the balance beam, the first apparatus, can either make or break a gymnast's day. The balance beam isn't for everyone, even though Chiles had a great start. Laying out the step out required her to double check her back handspring, BHS, and her front aerial was a little unsteady. She persisted through these small setbacks and finished her beam routine. Even though her 13.6 wasn't perfect, it was better than her expectations. Chiles dominated the floor exercise that followed by dancing like Beyoncé. The judges and spectators were captivated by her infectious confidence. Because her performance was so joyful, it seemed as though she was dancing her anxieties away. The difficult Chusov Tina Chuso and the front full to full in were both executed flawlessly by her. Her charisma and energy more than made up for the little hop forward. Featuring a full twisting piked Shushunova, the routine ended with the audience going absolutely crazy. Last but not least, her floor exercise score of 13.86 or 14.26 on average demonstrated her power and precision. The majority of the judges gave her good feedback, though a few were critical of her technique and the height she had achieved. At last, Chiles confronted the uneven bars, an obstacle she had previously conquered. She began her regimen with a spiked Jaeger and a Maloney half. She appeared to stray from the pack for an instant, but she quickly got back on track. She completed her set with a full out after adding a Maloney and a Ganger. Even though her dismount was a little off, she still managed a 14.26 on the routine. It was obvious that Chiles had put in a lot of time and effort to hone her skills and achieve the consistency she required. It becomes even more apparent how harsh the rule is when one observes how gifted gymnasts like Jordan Chiles struggle to compete under the 2-per-country rule. This regulation limits each nation to 2 competitors per event in the individual finals, which includes apparatus and all-around gymnasts. The plan plan is to eliminate unfair advantages enjoyed by nations like Russia, China, and the United States, and to make it possible for nations with less power and resources to send athletes to the finals where they can compete for medals. Equal opportunity and showcasing a wider variety of talent may sound like a good idea on paper, but they can cause some very painful situations when put into practice. Consider Jordan Chiles as an example. She was unstoppable throughout the Paris Olympic qualifying process, placing third in every single event. She placed fourth in the all-around event, which is quite impressive given that only the top 24 gymnasts advanced to the finals.
I would say 100% Olympic trials for any sport is the hardest thing that you'll ever do in life. You know, these 2 days, it's 2 days, not just one. A lot of people think, oh, it's just 1 day. No, it's 2 days. 2 days do count.
This should have been enough to get her into the championship round, yet issues arose due to the fact that every nation was limited to a maximum of 2. With 3 points, Chiles ranked 4th on Team USA, behind only Sunisa Lee and Simone Biles.
Because I knew Simone was going to go out there and do her thing, so it was just a really cool feeling for sure.
Despite having a higher score than most of the qualifiers, Chile was not included in the all-around final because each country is only allowed 2 gymnasts. Apologies, but not this time. Just when you believe you've pushed yourself to your limits during training, someone says otherwise. It's hard to take in, particularly when you consider how close the race was. Sunisa Lee barely edged out Chiles. In the past, the 2-per-country rule has caused some controversy. A similar incident occurred during the 2016 Rio Olympics. In the qualifying round, Simone Biles, Ali Raisman, and Gabby Douglas were the top 3 finishers. As a result of the regulation, only Biles and Raisman made it to the all-around final. Despite being a top gymnast, Gabby Douglas was unable to contend for an all-around medal. These kinds of events excite the spectators as much as the athletes. Those in favor of the rule say it ensures a more even distribution of opportunities, while those against it say it lowers the level of competition by excluding the best athletes. It was clear that Jordan Chiles' heart was breaking at the thought of missing out on the all-around final. There was a glimmer of resolve in her eyes despite the obvious disappointment. Nothing can deter her. As Chiles considered her journey, she became acutely aware of the radical change that had taken place inside her since Tokyo.
Was the time in Tokyo where I was put in a position that I was tested, and I succeeded that test. So
And obviously the previous event I failed, so I just wanted to come out and redeem myself on floor.
I would say testing the waters, but testing the waters in a way that you feel comfortable.
She obviously took pride in her performance despite the disappointment. Many people were thinking what her coach Cecile Landy said. The 2-per-country rule was strongly opposed by many, both within and outside of the gymnastics community. Some spectators were quite irate because, according to their logic, Chile should have qualified for the championship game from the start. They were adamant that gymnasts from every country compete. Opponents of the rule point out that it limits the opportunities for athletes from less developed nations to compete at the highest level, while supporters of the rule point out that it encourages diversity. Although Jordan Chiles was disappointed to not win the all-around championship, there was a silver lining to her disappointment. Her floor exercise routine, which was inspired by Beyoncé and has since become quite popular, advanced her to the finals. Her perseverance in the face of such a crushing loss speaks volumes about her character and her love of the game. Therefore, what is your opinion on the subject? Use the space provided to express your thoughts.